This is the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. Welcome everybody to this episode of the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. I'm sitting here laughing already with this fine gentleman, Antwon Taylor. Antwon is a screenwriter, a film producer, and a writer. How you doing, Antwon?
I'm pretty good, man. In a frenzy a bit, but I'm pulling it together.
Hey, man, as usual, and I say as usual, there are technical issues with my podcast. If it's not me, it's my guest. It's, all this stuff with Zoom and video chat and all that stuff. You would think people would have that together after all these months sitting at home with Corona and having to do everything on video chat. But hey, I guess not.
Yeah, right.
It keeps things exciting.
Exactly.
How did you get to be these three things? Film producer, screenwriter, and writer. How did you get into this?
Just kind of.
Is it something you've always wanted to do since you were a child, or?
No.
Okay.
No. And as a child, I kind of went back and forth between a wrestler or a ninja. It was kind of hard, I was trying to find ways to incorporate the two. It just wasn't working out at all.
I can see the challenges in becoming a ninja. I can see that.
Yeah. Some of my friends used to call me a ninja in boots. I thought I was a ninja doing flips off of the nearby school, elementary school.
Oh, man.
Fortunately, me and one other guy, fortunately, we neither one of us got hurt because there was no one else there to call the ambulance or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I don't know if there's too many quadriplegic ninjas out there. So, so you never. So this is not a lifelong dream that you've had to get into the film business. Let me back up a little bit. You are a writer. What have you written? What kind of writing do you do?
It started as a novel. That was the first thing I wrote. But the idea of that came from a short story I wrote in high school.
Okay, yeah.
This story, I think we had maybe 30 minutes to come up with maybe a 2 or 3 page story.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't really think nothing of it. I just wanted to hurry up and get out of class. So I quickly thought of, I love tigers. So
yeah.
I'm like, black tiger. So there we go. Start writing. I was done. Can I go now? Going out the door. And the next day when I come to class, she, actually, to be honest with you, I didn't hear anything else about it. A couple of days had passed and I was out in the hallways getting into mischief with a couple of friends. And I got sent to the principal's office.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that guy, you didn't want to deal with him, man. He was notorious for doing some things that most principals aren't. You don't hear about principals doing these type of things.
Okay, so this guy was old school. School.
Yeah, he'll jack you up real quick. And then tell you to go get your mother, your dad. It didn't matter. And the guys that went to school with me listening to this, they can vouch to that. I'm sure.
They know the story.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I was sent to his office and he got to talking to me and he asked me what I want to do in my life.
Yeah.
I said, stay out of trouble. He said, well, you have a bad start. He said, well, I'm going to get straight to the point because I don't have time to play around with you.
Right.
So he slapped down a copy of my story. He said, is this what you want to do? I said, what is that? He says, the story you wrote, boy, don't you recognize your own words? I said, well, I can't see that part. I'll try my best to be kind of smart back with him.
Right.
But at the same time, like, kind of limited because
yeah.
I'm not trying to be jacked up somewhere in this guy's office.
No.
With no witnesses. But anyway, he got to telling me that he see potential. Just from, he never knew me, never heard of me or anything. I stayed out of trouble for the most part. But
But he
So,
saw
you know,
something
he
in your
saw-
writing.
Right.
Yeah.
Which shocked me. I didn't really see anything. You know, it's just a story. Can I please go type of thing.
Yeah, you just wanted to get out of class. Yeah.
Yeah. And not to mention, I wasn't fond of writing in the first place.
Okay.
So he told me that if I would take my craft seriously, that he knew some guys, some college scholars or something like that.
Uh-huh.
He said that he would talk to them for me.
Wow.
And seriously consider getting me a scholarship if I would straighten up and quit hanging around with the knuckleheads, as he called them.
Yeah.
He said that, you know, he told me if I help myself. I said, okay, I appreciate that. Seriously, you went in one ear and out the other.
Okay, I was going to ask you, did you really appreciate it at the time? Let me ask you, how old were you? What grade was this?
This was ninth grade.
This was ninth grade.
15,
Okay.
14, 15.
Okay, so you didn't really take him seriously at the time?
Nah.
No. Okay.
During that time, you kind of, at that age, you think you know what's best for you.
And if I remember the way I was at that age, it was very hard for me to ever believe that any adult outside of my family, that any adult wanted me to succeed at anything. So getting those kind of compliments is not always that easy for certain children to take. You know, compliments like that will just bounce off, or as you say, in one ear and out the other, and you don't really do anything with that feedback at the time. Does that sound about right? The way you experienced it?
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. So fast forward a little bit to the time when you did begin to take things like that seriously, when you did begin to realize that you had a talent for writing. When was that? When did that happen, and what happened that made you open your eyes to the fact that you do have a talent for writing?
Well, I guess being that this interview, it won't be edited, and it's all about being straightforward and real with people, so people know exactly who I am. Yeah, this is a conversation. You and I are getting to know each other, and I'm sure you're going to throw some questions at me, and let's just pretend the audience is sitting around the corner or, you know, in a darkened auditorium, and you and I are just sitting across a table talking. Right. Not to mention this is, you know, speaking of being real and straightforward about things, this is a little pressure considering it's my very first interview and it happens to be unscripted. Yeah, you know, yeah, and we talked about that. I can see you're a little bit nervous, but really just look at it as a conversation. Of course, you know, there could potentially be thousands or tens of thousands of people who hear this, and yeah, there's a little bit of pressure in that. But no, I tell everybody, you know, walk into these podcast episodes with me as well. First of all, you know, I make it very clear that people are my guest. I brought them in as a guest, and this podcast is my home. And anybody that comes into my home, I want them to feel as relaxed as possible. And I brought you in because I see something in you that inspires me. Eventually, we're going to get to what it is about you that inspires me, but you and I have a lot in common, and that's going to be revealed in the course of this conversation. So, hey, man, you know, chill out. It's this. Make this as relaxed for yourself as possible. Yeah. Got you. Yeah. You know, I'm one of them guys. I'm always preaching something about adapting. Yes. Yeah. So this is a prime example right here. So I'm sure I'll well, it was the first time. I'll make the alphabet. Yeah, you know, and there's a first time for everything, and you know, I'm proud. I'm honored that my podcast is the first podcast that you've been on. That's an honor for me. So already right there, you're giving me something that's lifted me further. So thank you for that. Awesome, man. No problem. Yeah. So you were told at a young age that you had a talent for writing. You didn't really realize it, but eventually something must have happened, or you must have come to some realization that you are a good writer.
Can you tell me about that? What is it that made you realize that you had this talent?
Okay. Well, which is the reason why I said what I said initially about the whole, just being real with people, because there were certain things I didn't want people to know about me.
Right.
But I realized there's only but so much I'm going to reveal anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
So that being said, unfortunately, got into some trouble when I was younger, like a lot of kids do.
Yeah.
And that one significant moment that kind of gave me that time to sit back and think about who am I really, what do I want to be. I got into some trouble when I was 21, 22, ended up going to prison at 22. Like they say, it's easy to get in trouble. It's hard to get out of it.
It's very hard to get out. But the good thing is that when you're out of trouble, you're out of trouble. You know, there is a finality to that. When you're in trouble, you're in trouble. But when you're out, and it's time for a new start. That's the way I look at it anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have options when you're in there. You can either choose to let that negative experience break you down or keep you stagnant, or you can find some way to turn it into a positive experience. Not let this situation that I'm so uncomfortable in destroy me.
Right.
So I adapt and decide to, instead of letting it be a permanent black mark or a black cloud hanging over my life, hanging over my head the rest of my life, I decided that it was going to be the start of a new journey for me, so to speak.
And I can say this. Now, I didn't know about that part of your life, that you are a man who was incarcerated at one time. I didn't know that about you. But I can say this, having been told about you by our mutual friend and having spoken with you for just these few minutes, and also knowing the accomplishments that you've had, now I'm even more inspired, because you are a man who obviously, at least to a certain degree, has found a way to overcome adversity. I personally couldn't imagine something that is more of a burden, something that is a bigger piece of adversity than being incarcerated, and then coming out and then having to pretty much start everything all over, as far as, marching towards some sort of success, some sort of remaking of your path through life. So just that we're sitting here today and talking, eventually we're going to talk about your film work and your writing and everything, but to be sitting here talking about that is a testament to your success. So I have to say that's inspiring. Again, I already knew there was something about you that was inspiring, and now I found out that there's even more about you that's inspiring.
I appreciate that, man.
That's real talk, brother. That's real talk right there. Yeah.
And actually, I think that is pretty much the theme of this interview.
Yeah.
If my story can inspire at least one person out of millions, that's a step in the right direction.
And there you go. And that is the theme, not just of this podcast episode, but my entire podcast, is that I want to leave something on the table that first inspires me. I'm a little bit selfish. I want to be inspired first. And then I hope that the people who are listening are also inspired. So see, there's a reason why I had you here. I already knew part of your story, but again, now that I find out this about you, I know there's so much more about you that's going to inspire me, and will probably inspire my listeners as well.
And that's I believe sometimes when I tell people, it's just a lot going on right now. It's kind of hard to actually, because sometimes people think that you're, you ain't got nothing going on, or it's not that serious, or,
Yeah.
Trust me, it's, but they say it's the journey that makes you appreciate the destination that much more.
Oh, absolutely. And I never wish a difficult journey on myself or anyone else, but I do appreciate a difficult journey because, you know, the rockier the road, the stronger you got to be to get through it.
Right.
So there is something to that, you know, and that's not to say that people who have a lot of fortune in their lives and fewer challenges than some of us, that's not to say that they don't deserve their success, but a person who has had to struggle more than the average person, you know, they build up a certain kind of strength that brings about a certain type of success that people who don't have to strive so much experience, you know?
Right. And it makes you appreciate what you have more.
I think it brings a certain amount of empathy to a person. You know, people who have struggled generally have more empathy. They're in general a kinder person. They're a kinder spirit than people who just float through life and maybe get a little bit arrogant, maybe don't appreciate things as much. So the people who have gone through real struggle and regardless of that struggle have been able to find success, those are the people that I tend to gravitate to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you haven't been handed anything.
Not
obviously.
Exactly.
I would guess you've had to work hard to get where you are now.
Yeah, I understood when I decided to, for lack of a better word, lock in on what I really wanted out of life. I knew that there was going to be whatever profession it is, it's not going to be easy at all.
No.
So I was already mentally preparing myself for the challenges that's going to come.
You're talking about when you were incarcerated, you were already focusing on what kind of a life you were going to live when you got out. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, can I ask you how many years were you incarcerated?
At that point, to be honest with you, man, I've done a total of, and this is sad, maybe 8 years in all is what I got for that initial crime I've done.
Okay.
It wasn't anything, no heinous crimes or anything like that.
No.
But it was enough to. It was a bittersweet situation, man, when it happened. You know, I'm locked up for the first time in prison, and I'm laying there, and I'm thinking about, is this where I'm going to be the rest of my life, coming in and out of here? My brother, he's actually, I grew up with a very, shall I say, unique family. And it was a mixture of, Louisiana swag and the New York kind of,
Oh man,
personality.
that's a crazy mix. Louisiana and New York, man. That's a crazy mix. But you live in Virginia now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, I grew up with my great aunt, and like I said, she's a Creole woman, and there was her kids, my cousins, Poindexter and Pookie, but they were my brother and sister.
Yeah.
And my Becky, she was my second mom, naturally. So one thing I can say for my brother, even though he chose a different path, it's that's his choice.
Yeah, of course.
He did make sure that he told me to never follow in his footsteps.
Okay.
That stuck with me. He only had to say it once. Because I remember hearing a whole lot of stories about him, and that's you. That being said, so I'm laying in my bunk in prison, and I'm thinking about all of this.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it seems like I'm doing what he told me not to do.
Now, how long had you been in prison at that time?
I was in jail, actually, for around 8 to 9 months before they actually shipped me off to prison.
Okay. Yeah.
but it was in jail actually, where it was 2003, where I'm laying in my bunk and I'm thinking like, well, there's got to be something else better that I can do in my life, man.
Yeah.
Because this isn't going to work right here.
Yeah.
You know. So I'm like, I got to think, like, you hear all the time that everyone is blessed with a talent. Everyone is blessed with some sort of gift. Some
I believe that.
More gifts than others.
Yeah.
And I learned that apparently what we're supposed to be doing is finding our purpose in life. And once you find that purpose, you're supposed to nurture whatever it is that you're doing, whatever your gift is, whatever your talent may be. You nurture it, and as you're nurturing it, you're learning in the process, and everything just starts to come together.
Yeah, yeah.
Which reminds me of this new phase that I feel that I'm going through at the moment. I'm real big on the Yin Yang Symbol.
Okay, yeah.
It's always appealed to me, ever since I was a kid, especially since I was, all into martial arts and things like that.
The ninja, yeah.
But I never really understood the meaning of it. So once you get older, and I started doing a little more research about things that I was interested in, and trying to get an understanding why I'm interested in these things.
Right.
So the Yin Yang Symbol, it represents balance.
That's right.
Everything, life is without balance. There is no life. Balance is key to life.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
For example, a relationship. If there isn't equal effort on both parts, there's an imbalance.
Yeah, it has to be that give and take has to be in balance. Absolutely, in a relationship, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And when there is no balance, it's going to be noticed. One of you and it's the woman most of the time. She's going to let you know when things are out of balance. And so we all know that when things are out of balance, it doesn't operate the way it should.
That's right.
If it's out of balance for too long, it's liable to just break down completely.
Yes. And that is very, very real when it comes to a relationship, that balance. And over time, it will destroy that relationship. Absolutely.
And that the same rule applies to life in general. We need the trees and grass and all this stuff in order for us to breathe. Right. The air, if there wasn't any trees here, it wouldn't balance.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It would be very unhealthy for us.
One of my favorite stand-up comedians, who's actually a very intelligent man, Bill Burr, said that in essence, there's nothing wrong with people driving these big gas guzzling SUVs. The problem is that it's out of balance, so that nature cannot clean the air because there's too many people doing it. So there you have an imbalance in this world, which is leading to the climate crisis that we have. I thought that was a very smart way of putting it. There's nothing wrong with driving a gas guzzling car or an SUV as long as there's not too many people doing it, so that nature can't handle it. Yin and yang, balance. Yep.
Right. So with that being said, having a full understanding of the Yin Yang Symbol, and I'm sure a lot of people that know me by now realize I'm a big fan of Bruce Lee.
Me too.
Yeah, there you go. And it's not just because of his fighting abilities.
His mindset.
Exactly. It was how he chose to think.
Yes.
And his way of thinking is what enabled him to do things that were light years ahead of his time.
Exactly. I truly believe that if he didn't have the way of thinking, if he didn't have the philosophical approach to things that he did, he wouldn't have been the fighter that he was. In other words, his mental aspects, I believe, were stronger and more significant than his physical abilities, because his physical abilities, he would have had the discipline to train himself up to that level if he didn't have things right in his mind and in his way of thinking.
Exactly.
Yep.
And if you listen to him, he'll tell you he's not anyone that's special, or he wasn't anyone special.
Right.
He was just an average man that was able to channel his inner strength, whatever strength we have deep down in there.
Yeah.
Can you really consider this man a genius, though?
I've
never heard that.
Well, I think there's so many different ways to define a genius. I would say when it comes to his philosophical way of, he had a philosophical curiosity towards life and towards the way of thinking, and he took it to a new level. And I believe it is that act of taking anything to a new level that encompasses the definition of genius. A genius is someone who's doing something that has never been done before. So I think in that sense, Bruce Lee was a genius. Absolutely.
Exactly. Because my thing is, what constitutes a genius? When are you officially considered a genius? Is it when you're the smartest guy in the room, you know something that someone else doesn't? Or do you just simply have to think like one?
Well, I think it's a combination, because I think there's a lot of people out there with some really amazing thoughts, but they lack the confidence, they lack the ambition, or they lack the means to put those thoughts into practical function. So I think you have to do both. I don't think you can just sit with the thought. I do believe you have to somehow apply that thought to something that is tangible, so that you can, because you may be sitting there thinking you have some great thoughts, but the minute you try to put them out into practical use, you find out you're really kind of schizophrenic or crazy, and it wasn't a smart thought at all. So I believe those thoughts have to be tested in a practical sense before they can be considered genius. That's my opinion, though. That's just my opinion.
And you're exactly right. And
you agree with that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because, which brings me to this. People have to understand that when they decide to thoroughly, truly want to change, you literally have to reprogram your way of thinking.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Because I don't think change for an individual can come about if you continue in the same line of thought. You have to change your thinking. Absolutely. That's important. That's important. That's alpha and omega when it comes to change.
Right. You can have all the right ideas.
Yeah.
They could be brilliant ideas. But if you're not confident in making the initial step to achieve whatever it is that you're trying to do, you've already defeated yourself pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah. I think a lot of potential geniuses, a lot of people who could potentially change the world have probably never been noticed, recognized, or acknowledged simply because they lack the confidence to try their ideas out on the world. I wonder how many times that's happened. I don't know, but I bet it has happened.
Definitely. I'm living proof of that.
How so?
That brings us back to the balance, basically.
Yeah.
So as I'm laying there trying to figure out what I'm doing in my life, okay, maybe it's writing then. I would have loved to have played professional football. You too.
Yeah.
That's that's the only regret I do have is never really actually pursuing that, because I was, kind of, average height. And I just figured there wasn't really a place in football for people my size. But then I got older, and then and I was a running back. I was really fast. And then I get older, and I see all the best running backs are the smaller guys around my height.
Yeah.
Why ain't this about it? That's just my luck,
I was also a running back. I was a badass running back. I got a full scholarship. Played in Division I NCAA. And because of life circumstances, I actually ended up quitting. I dropped the scholarship, ended up quitting. But I was on a path, a pretty definite path, a pretty secured path to playing pro ball. I was that good. Gave it up,
awesome,
though.
Man.
Gave it up, though.
Awesome.
That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story. Maybe we'll get to that during this episode. Maybe not. But that's a long story right there. But back to you though. Okay, so you're in there. You're laying in the bed. You're thinking about balance in your life, and what you're gonna do. And you're thinking maybe it's this stuff with writing. But go ahead. What else?
So I decided that I was going to try it.
Okay.
Because if I didn't try, then I would never know.
Right.
So instantly, I don't know, man. It's just like, I knew that if I decided that I was going to commit to writing, then there were other things that I was going to have to commit to as well.
Yeah, like what?
Accepting criticism. Accepting, the fact that people are not going to believe you sometimes when you tell them what you plan to do.
Right.
I guess it's something at this magnitude, maybe it is a little hard to understand. And I guess I understand where some people may find it hard to believe.
Well, but I would say that people who, I think I know what you mean, like based upon your background, based upon the fact that you were at that time a person who was incarcerated, that if you say you have these hopes of being a writer, a lot of people, for whatever reasons they choose, are going to just say, nah, man, what are you talking about? That ain't you. You can't do that. But I think those people, they are just vocalizing a different aspect of the doubt that they have for themselves, but they can't bring themselves to admit it, so they have to put that on you. That's the way I interpret doubters. If they want to hate on me and doubt on me, I think it's because they have an issue with themselves that they're afraid to deal with. What do you think?
I totally agree, man. And what you said reminds me of the movie Pursuit of Happiness.
Ah, yes.
I think my favorite, other than, of course, the ending when the guy told him he had the job and, gave him those, I'm sure that touched a lot of people.
Oh, that was a very moving movie, man. That was, I love it. Yeah.
Especially knowing it was based on a true story.
Right.
And shout out to Will Smith. I don't care what nobody say about that guy. I got a lot of respect for Will Smith, man.
I have a lot of respect for Will Smith too. He's one of my favorite actors. Him and Denzel are my favorite. Right, Denzel's my favorite, and then at a very close second is Will Smith. Just incredibly talented. Great movies that they've both been in, and a lot of respect for Will Smith.
So it was that one scene that I think was my favorite overall when he was with his son playing basketball.
Yeah.
And his son was shooting around with the ball, and he's, I'm going pro. And Will's like, I don't want you getting your mind basically too caught up in playing pro ball, because, basically telling him there's a good chance that you won't make it.
Right.
And, his son kind of looked down and threw the ball away. And, so Will got to looking at him, and he's like, what am I doing? I'm in process of trying to accomplish what seems like the impossible myself. Who am I to tell my son what he can't do? So he decides to go over there and tell him, don't ever let someone tell you what you can't do. you got a dream, you got to protect it. People want to tell you that you can't do something because they can't do it themselves.
Exactly. There you go. Yep.
If you want something, go get it. Period.
Yeah. Period.
Man, that's I think I ain't even gonna lie. I think I teared up when I first saw that.
I did too. Let's keep that a secret between us. I did too. I teared up.
Right.
I did.
Right. So, and it hit me, of course, so hard because I can relate 100% with them. So, fast forward back to the whole realizing, the writing thing. So I'm realizing that I'm going to have to accept what comes with the territory.
Right.
So I began writing. I started, the initial story was called Black Tiger. I turned it into, gray is pretty much my favorite color, so I turned it to Gray Tiger.
Uh-huh.
And just expanded on the story, And as I went along, I was finding all types of paper to write on. People will have old pieces of paper that they, from court, from the lawyer or whatever, they weren't using. I've ran out of notebook paper if I didn't have the money at the time to get any more. Hey, can I have that? Napkins, whatever the case was.
Right. Whatever you need, whatever you had available at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Instantly understanding that concept of when you set your mind on something, you really can accomplish anything you want to. So that being said, I didn't let me not having any paper stop me from writing.
There you go.
So I would get people to, and I would always look for the people that I would see reading all the time.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of common sense, and older guys too, for the most part.
Yeah.
I would let them read what I have, and they would tell me, "Man, it's awesome, man. You gonna finish it?" I'm like, "Yeah." So it started. The more I heard compliments, it was like everyone I would let read these, few pages I read.
Uh-huh.
It's like everybody was, thoroughly. They seemed to thoroughly enjoy the story.
So that was a confidence. That was a confidence booster, I'm sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, but then I got to wondering, somebody's got to be pulling my leg here, man.
Here comes the self-doubt.
Yeah.
The self-doubt is going to overshadow the obvious support and obvious compliments that you were getting from others.
Right. So it was all a learning process. It was all new.
Sure. Reprogramming your way of thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then it came to a point where when I get people to read it, I would tell them, and look, your honest opinion, it won't hurt my feelings, it won't be anything. I need your input, your feedback to help me to better what I'm trying to do. Right. I would even go back to the people that read it that told me it was good. And look, you wasn't lying to me, was you? And then I would listen to some of these guys, and most of the time it was the older ones. Some were successful in life, but made wrong choices. Some that were in the process, or whatever the case was. They were people that had the experience to give me the advice they were giving me.
Right.
So, these guys would tell me, man, bro, what I've written here on a piece of paper from an inmate is better than some of the books I've gotten from the library.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, man, are you really telling me that I can actually do this? Because I'm thinking I can, but I'm just trying to get some reassurance here.
Right.
No, he's like, man, anybody that you've gotten to read your stuff, I'm surely, you got it. Cool. So time went on. I kept writing. I ended up meeting a guy, David Hunter, a friend. When he hears this, I'm sure he'll probably be shocked all the hell. But anyway.
Shout out to David Hunter.
Yeah, shout out to David Hunter. he, white guy, pretty cool, was pretty, he had there was just some air about him. I don't know. A lot of people really didn't like him. They thought of him as some cocky, privileged type of guy, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know how it came about, but I think he may have asked me. He heard about me writing or something like that, and he asked me if he could check out what I've written so far.
Okay, yeah.
He was a little younger than me, so he read it and he enjoyed it. So I think it was when I got that validation finally from someone that was actually younger than me.
Right, a different demographic.
Right. So then, all the pieces started to slowly form together.
Uh-huh.
I think my last challenge that I knew I had coming was when I got out of prison, because I wasn't going to finish it in prison.
Okay.
It was,
right.
I'm just writing all of this from,
Yeah.
So I get out and I ended up getting a computer. It was 2005.
2005.
I knew that, it took me 5 years from the time I started the story to the time I finally got it published. I got out. I ended up getting a job doing carpet installation. And I wouldn't write every day like I was supposed to.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how much time per day did you put in, but you didn't write every day.
No.
Okay.
Knowing that I was supposed to.
Okay.
And there wasn't a set time of how long I would write. I may write for an hour one day, the next day it might be 10 minutes.
So it was pretty much just whenever the spirit moved you, just whenever you felt like it was time to write, that's what you did, and you did it for as long as you were motivated to do it. There was no set.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, granted, I had my own place at the time, so I had plenty of time to write.
Yeah.
But I had so many other things going on.
Sure.
So I had
Life is still going on. Yeah.
Right. So, I can't focus on that right now. I'll get to it later, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So fast forward, but I stuck through it. I was go write a little bit at a time. In comes Joy. I meet Joy Linsky.
And here we go. Joy Linsky. Can I just, I want to give Joy Linsky a shout out. I love that woman. I absolutely love that woman. And she may be the best troll that you could find on Facebook. If you step out of line, Miss Joy will get you. I love it. She's got her own little place way up there in the mountains, in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, doing her thing. She calls herself what? A Hill William, not a hillbilly. She's smarter than that. She's a Hill William. I love it. Who thinks of something like that? She's a Hill William.
She knows she's to amaze me, man.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just had to say, I have to sing that woman's praises because she's just amazing. I love her.
Exactly. You share the same enthusiasm. She's a recluse.
Yeah.
She doesn't want any attention.
None at all.
And that's why she's probably going to cut both of us out after this once she hears this. But it's all good because people like her deserve recognition for what she does.
Yes.
So, with that being said, I met her through a mutual friend. She enjoys this unassuming white woman.
Uh-huh.
To be honest, she looks like a redneck.
Yeah, really. She does. She's got the look in it. Yeah.
But we instantly clicked. Joy is the person where, like you said, where she lives is, in the mountains and hillbillies and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the first time I went there, you see all these flags and stuff.
Oh, wait, hold on now. Have you been up? You've been up to her place?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And actually,
Now, wait a minute. Now, what kind of flags? Tell us what kind of flags did you see going up there? Tell us.
So, you have your rebel flags and your Trump and Pence flags and your, Born to Be Wild and all that stuff. Skulls. Then there's Joy's flag. It's a Wu-Tang Clan flag.
I love it. You would never think that this woman, to look at her or to listen to her voice, you would never think she loves the Wu-Tang Clan. But this woman is probably the biggest fan of the Wu-Tang Clan.
Right. And the reason I initially, started gaining so much respect for Joy is because of her strong beliefs.
Yes.
Say. Prime example, she doesn't, even though she looks the way she does, she doesn't care if she has to lose a childhood friend, or if she doesn't speak to a family member anymore. If she hears someone disrespecting you or me or some other black person,
she's on them. She gets on them.
Right.
She's probably one of the bravest people I've ever known. She's told me a few things that she's been through and that she's done in the past. And she is the type of person who, if she believes it, she believes it, and she will not bend. She sticks to what she thinks is right. And just a little side note, what Joy thinks is right, because she's got a big heart. She's probably one of the kindest, most big-hearted people. But at the same time, if you mess with her, she will. She'll get you. She will get you. So she's a good ally to have. I love that woman. In fact, I told her the next time I and my family come home. Now, my people are up in Ohio, but I also have people down south. So what we've done sometimes is come into like Orlando, Florida, and rent a car and then drive all the way up. And I will swing off of Interstate 81 and swing into Joy's part of town. I need to see that woman. I need to give her a hug. And I don't care about the flags and all that stuff up in her neighborhood, because I know Joy has got my back. So I'm not afraid to go up on that mountaintop there.
Right. Yeah, I kind of joked with her a little bit too. Before I went to a house for the time, I said, I don't need to bring any protection or anything, do it. She's like, I can't remember exactly what she said, but whatever it was, I'm sure it was some tune of, I'm pretty much protected while I'm around her. Because pretty much people know not to mess with Joy.
I think they've learned. Yeah.
They try her because she's this little sweet little,
Yeah.
But anyway, I think her face is red enough by now. So I meet her and I told her what I was into, and she was like, "Well, awesome, I think she had just published a book, and I think she was waiting for copies or something like that." Now, keep in mind, around this time when I'm realizing, and I decided to dedicate myself to this writing life, I realized that it's kind of, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to.
No, that's okay.
Because I don't want to say the wrong thing, and I had to literally it all comes with the whole when you reprogramming your mind or whatever. And I'm on the street now, so I got more activity going on around me and all that stuff. I'm still in the process of actually solidifying my belief in myself.
Okay.
That I can achieve what I set my mind to.
Okay. I see.
I'm sorry it took so long to really get that out the way I wanted to get it out.
No, but that's a deep thought, and that's a deep process. That's a difficult process. I haven't had half of the challenges that you've had, but I'm still, I'm going through my thing, trying to find my path and trying to solidify what kind of a man I am and make any changes that I want to make. I mean, that might be a lifelong process for all we know. So that is a deep thought. I know. I mean, I feel you, man. It takes a while to get that thought processed and then put it out there and speak it in a way that's going to be understood for what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're talking to Joy, you know instantly that she's just full of intelligence and wit and all this stuff. So when she read my manuscript, and when she gave me her comments about it, it really threw me for a loop, because I'm thinking, like, if I can, the other guys, I'm not discrediting the guys.
No.
Back in
But again, Joy represents a different demographic. Just like the white gentleman you were talking about, he was a different demographic from the other people that you had been speaking with about your book. And then here comes Joy with a totally different perspective. So yeah, one is not more important than the other. It's just a different perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I mean by it was all starting to piece together.
Right. You're getting feedback from different kinds of people, and all of the feedback is positive. So that's telling you something at that time, right?
Right. And me, I'm the type of person, I believe in signs now.
Yes.
I really do believe in signs. And during that process, that's when I was starting to get into the whole learning how to read my signs.
Right.
Joy's response to how she felt about my work was a sign. She said she just point blank period, she thought I had it. So she offered to tell her publishing company about me, and we go on from there.
Yeah.
So
now, what year was this? What year was this roughly?
This was 2000. I met Joy around 2006 or 7.
Okay.
The book was actually published in 2008.
Okay.
So I published the book with the company. The company, I ended up terminating my contract, unfortunately, in 2012.
Oh, okay.
But once I published the book, and I got my copy in the mail and everything, and
that must have been exciting.
It was, man.
You get that copy in your hands, and it's like, here it is. This is my work. I did this.
Right. Yeah. And it was a testament to, that was when I knew that I could do anything I put my mind to.
There you go.
As long as I thoroughly focus on what I want to do.
Right.
There may be some distractions or whatever the case may be, but as long as you keep your eye on the big picture.
Right. What was the name of that book again?
It's called Gray Tiger Volume 1.
Gray Tiger Volume 1. Yeah.
Yeah. Grey. Yes. And it was, available. I mean, you can still find it online.
On Amazon, maybe? Or
Amazon, you'll see it on there, but it'll say out of stock.
Okay.
Which is the way it should be right now, because I was having some issues with them with Amazon still popping up with copies to sell in some of these other stores, but I'm not getting paid for it.
Oh, that's another black mark. That's another black mark on Amazon.
Right.
That's kind of underhanded.
I'm not saying, there's nothing against Amazon. I'm gonna put that out there. Nothing personal against Amazon. it's the publishing company, because they were a POD company.
Okay. Okay.
And they were, and you know what? People need to know the company's name. It used to be Publish America.
Yeah.
But they've sometime or another changed their names to Star Publishing. So for any of you that's writing and considering publishing, whatever the case may be, steer clear of Star Publishing. They're rip-offs, basically.
They're rip-offs. They try to sell your works without paying you.
Exactly.
Huh.
And then they try to beat people in the head, man. I have a screenshot still of a book that they had put on Amazon for $74.95.
A book for $74.95.
Yes, I mean, you can't blow my head up that big.
What is it? What is it? An original copy of the Bible or something?
Seriously. I mean, I don't think Stephen King's.
I don't think. No, I don't think Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John have written anything that can go for $74.95.
Right. So I'm gonna shove that to the side for now.
Yeah.
Because
let's keep that. We'll keep it positive. We'll keep it positive.
Right. But I'm going to republish the Gray Tiger book.
Okay. Good. Have you figured out what publishing company you're going to go with? Or are you going to self-publish, or?
I've been told a lot about Amazon, that they were, they've gotten some pretty good reviews from people that's published with them, and fair with the royalties and
yeah.
So I'm considering them.
That's actually the way. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm going to self-publish.
Okay,
I think you can self-publish with them.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. When I come with mine, I'm working on something at the moment too. And when I come with it, I'm just going to bypass. I just don't want to deal with all of that finding a publisher. My plan is to self-publish through Amazon. Basically Amazon takes their I don't know, what do you call it, administrative cut,
Right.
But other than that, everything is mine, and it'll be print on demand, so I don't have to worry about that.
Gotcha.
I've done a lot of research on that. It seems like that is the easiest way to go. You may be missing something in the sense that if you get a good publishing deal with a big time publisher, they'll do a lot of promotion for you. But I don't know. I'm the same way with my music when it comes to just having control. I would just rather put it out myself. That's the way I'm thinking now. That might change, but that's the way I'm thinking now. To break into that world of writing, I think the first go around, I'm just going to self-publish through Amazon.
Hey, there you go, man.
Yeah. It won't be with Star Publishing anyway. I know that. I know that now.
There you go. That's a start. If we can help anyone, trust me, that's a big help right there.
Yeah.
And this was, of course, before I was all big on Google. If I had done my research, I would have realized that there were a lot of unsatisfied customers and so on and so forth. Anyway, back to the situation at hand. Once I published that book, I had it in my hand and I'm looking at it. I just didn't have that fulfilling satisfaction that I was hoping to get.
Really? What was missing?
I couldn't figure it out. I just don't know, man. It was like, and I didn't like that. Do I need to write another one? I didn't even give this book a chance to even try to sell any copies yet.
Right.
I just received the book,
Yeah.
My girlfriend at the time, she was crying, all excited and running in circles around and hugging all, I'm staying there thinking like, this is something ain't right.
Right.
But yet to a lot of people, that's apparently quite a feat to accomplish.
And it is. It is. You see that, don't you? That is a big,
right.
Right. Not everybody can do that. There's a lot of people who want to be writers, but very few of them actually do it.
Okay, and
I think so. I believe that.
So, and that's that. But yet, I still wasn't.
Still didn't.
Satisfied.
No.
So, it took a few days or whatever the case may be, and there was at one point, man, where it was just bothering me for I can't actually recall how long, but apparently it had been somewhere around 2009. No, it didn't. It wasn't apparently. It was 2009.
Okay.
So it kind of dawned on me, like, it was kind of cool to create this story that I wrote.
Right.
And to actually see people, because what I did was sometimes I would peek at people that were reading to see if they were like thoroughly engaged in the story.
Okay,
or if they were looking around,
Yeah.
And when I was guys like just glued to the pages, it made me feel good. Because it reminded me that I actually had the power, the gift to create stories from out of nowhere and actually entertain people. So that stuck me. So I'm like, okay, well, apparently I have a knack for entertaining people.
Yeah.
Right. I love movies. Maybe that's it. I'm always wanted to try acting and stuff like that. So I auditioned for a couple of movies. A lot of people don't know about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where did you go to do those auditions? Was it there locally in Virginia or?
No, they were in. One was in Greensboro, and one was Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
Greensboro, North Carolina, and Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
Greensboro, I went down there. I paid someone. I didn't have my car at the time. Paid someone $50 in gas. It was actually around my birthday.
Okay.
So that was my birthday present to myself, was to get the guts to go down and try out for this movie.
What kind of a movie was it? Was it a?
I think it was some sort of Kingpin type of movie or something.
Okay. Yeah.
It was called one thing at the time, but they had to change something minds, but they had to change the original. It was 2 words. They changed the first word out of.
Okay.
Whatever legal reasons.
And what kind of role was it you were auditioning for?
It was the one was for the drug dealer, the actual kingpin. One was for his right hand man.
Okay.
One was for some character who had gotten his leg cut off while his girlfriend was sitting there screaming and crying and stuff.
Okay.
And man, let me tell you, when I walked in that room and I look and you see the producers and everybody sitting at this one table, and there's mirrors around every, all around the other 3 walls.
Yeah.
And there's people sitting around in a big circle, waiting to audition, men, women, all. It was, I almost walked back out of that room.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a pretty intimidating sight, huh?
Yeah. And I realized instantly that them people are serious. Like the people that are auditioning, they were serious about that stuff. If you were there and you were just, you trying out for a role and you just playing around with it, and you just, like, get this guy out of here so we can get somebody in here that's really trying to be an actor type of thing.
Right.
I try to keep that in mind. So so no embarrassment, you got this. So when it was my time to audition for these roles, one of them was me in a car talking to some lady, And eventually I had to push her out of the car once my right-hand man shot her through the back seat. I did the scene where I got my leg cut off. I had to scream and I it was kind of awkward. My issue I learned afterwards was after I do my scene, I would start looking around at the producers or whatever the case may be and looking at the other actor like, okay, let me see how they're going to do their role now.
Right.
Instead of staying in character.
Oh. Rookie mistake.
Right. So we didn't find out if we were accepted for the roles or whatever the case may be until a couple of days later. They emailed you or called you or whatever. And they emailed me and said they appreciate me coming all the way out there, and I had a good performance, but the only issue they had was me not staying in character.
Okay.
So next time they were back in town, they wanted me to come back out and try again.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, went to Richmond, tried out for that situation. They called me back, asking me if I could come out to Houston for some expo, whatever the case, and do some things in front of cameras, in front of execs from producers and execs from Paramount and Universal and all these places.
The big dogs.
But I had to pay for my own room and board while I was there for the week.
Okay. Yeah.
But if I get picked up by one of these companies, then they would pay my fees from that point on until further notice, whatever the case may have been.
Okay.
I brushed it off. I was done with it,
Yeah. Well, that must have been exciting though to get that call back, and get asked to go.
Well, So that's pushed to the back of my mind.
Yeah.
So if I ever did get into acting again, at least I know what not to do. Which is
live and learn. Yeah.
Right.
A rookie mistake is a rookie mistake, and when you're not a rookie, you don't make those mistakes anymore. So.
Exactly. So man. So, like I said, I by that time I got really strong into believing in my signs and stuff like that.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't think it's the acting, or maybe I'm just not going hard enough with the acting. So I'm like, maybe it's I don't know what made the idea pop in my head. It was something I seen on TV. And I said, maybe I should try writing a movie. So I looked it up, and the format wasn't the same. It was less writing.
Right.
But and less detail by far. To give people an example of what I mean, one page of a movie script equals roughly around 1 minute or so of film.
One page of a movie script equals 1 minute of actual film.
Right.
Hold on one second. My wife is bringing me some water here. I gotta.
Oh, no problem, man. That's awesome. Make sure that you're taken care of while you do your thing. And
she's just as fine as she wants to be, over here blushing and being all shy. But thank you, Snoopy. Awesome. Thank you, Snoopy. I call her Snoopy.
Cute. Oh.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah. Sorry about that.
It's all good, man.
So yeah, okay. One page of text for writing for film equals, would you say 1 minute of
film?
Okay.
Give or take
interesting.
A couple seconds.
Yeah. Okay.
So, you got 120. You have 120 pages. That's a
film. 120 minutes. Yeah.
2-hour film.
Yeah.
Now, a book, 120 pages, that's all you considered a novel.
Right, right.
So the
Big difference. Big difference.
So, I'm having to soak all this stuff in, and I tried writing in the format initially with Word. Before I get to the actual, before I get committed to actually writing a movie, I first had to believe that I could do it.
Back to the mindset, back to that mental work that has to be in place before the actuality can happen.
Right. So it's like I had to not really start all over with it, but I kind of had to modify it a little bit.
It was a new thought process. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, okay, I've done what I thought and what a lot of people thought that I couldn't do already. So all I need to do is take what I've done already and incorporate it into what I have now figured out what I really want to do with my life. I have
so the book writing was something you wanted to do, but again, when you finished it and when you had the actual book in your hands, you didn't feel that satisfaction that you thought you would. But now writing a screenplay is bringing you a different level of satisfaction. Did you feel that right away?
Yeah.
Okay, right away.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then it all started making sense because I love movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Growing up, that's all we did when we were, my mom loved movies. We'd all sit down. And,
sure. Yeah.
So it started clicking. Now back to the signs thing. It just so happens to, one day I was stressing about something. I can't remember what it was. And I was sitting in this area. There's some building. I can't remember exactly what building it was. I'm sitting there all by myself. And I'm thinking like, man, I need some sort of, I'm trying to trying to hone my skills in on recognizing my signs, I'm like, I need something to happen, man. I'm just not, I was stressing, going through a lot at the time. And it just so happened, I swear to you, man. I look over at the table. The whole time I'm thinking about this, I keep glancing at a little booklet sitting on, one of the far tables.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm definitely not in the mood to read right now. So I'm looking at the TV and something came on. It was maybe a trailer for a movie or something like that. And shortly after that, there was something about writing. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it came right on after the trailer for the movie that I had this a weird fascination with.
Yeah, yeah.
So I look back at the thing. I'm trying to put it together, movie then writing. So I said, man, let me try something real quick. I got up and I went over and looked at the booklet, and it was a play written by I think it may have been a Shakespeare play.
Okay, yeah.
It's like a play. So I started, turning through the pages, and I noticed the format of the play is very similar to the format of a screenplay.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
So I'm looking and reading it. I'm like, man, this is pretty easy, really. This is before I even thought of looking up on the internet,
right?
To see,
Yeah, no real research. Yeah. This information is kind of just falling in your hands, right in front of you. Yeah.
Right. So I'm looking through it and stuff, and I'm like, this is it. That's when I realized
you knew it.
This my sign.
You knew it.
Right. Looking at that book and looking at how the format was gave me the confidence I needed.
Right. Right.
To know that I can do this. This is nothing right here. It's less words. Okay. So then it set in.
Where does that lack of confidence come from? Where did it did it come from time where you were incarcerated, or was it from a time in your life before that? What is it that put that sense of self-doubt in you? You've overcome that now, obviously, but at one point it was something that you struggled with. Where does that struggle come from?
I guess
that's a deep question. Now you gotta dig a little. Now you gotta dig deep. Now we're squeezing the heart a little bit.
Right. I'm trying to keep in mind there's no editing here.
Yeah. Hey, and again, don't you don't have to put anything out there that you don't want to, but I'm just curious. I'm sitting here fascinated by what you're telling me as I think about about your background and how you face that struggle, because again, being incarcerated has to be, for a black man especially, when we look at facts and figures and statistics, it has to be one of the greatest challenges that you could ever have when it comes to changing your life and being successful. So I'm sitting here just so impressed and in awe, listening to your story about how you came from that to sitting here talking with me today about what we're talking about. So if I ask you questions that are digging a little bit deep, man, hey, you don't have to answer if it's too personal. I get that. I do understand.
Got you, man. Okay. Well, growing up the way I did, I'm not saying I had a horrible childhood or anything like that.
Right.
But you're around certain areas throughout your life where things like this doesn't really seem possible for people like us.
Right. Yeah, I get it. Absolutely.
For starters, we already have a challenge that's what's the best? We're already the underdog anyway, because we're black.
Yeah. Right.
And then these neighborhoods that we grow up in, we just don't see a lot of, the success we saw was the big time drug dealers and when we seen successful people on TV.
Right. Was poverty an issue?
I've dealt with it at times. Yeah, there's been some struggles. But my mother, I went to live with her when I was 10.
Okay.
My actual mother and my two sisters. And, there was struggle. I moved around a lot, but even though she didn't have the room necessary to accept me in, because a lot of people don't understand either. It's hard, the relationship, because I grew up with the family I grew up with, it was at first kind of hard for me to adjust to my mom being my mom.
Okay. Understand. I understand.
So, I had to adjust to that. And then, but I wanted it. I wanted to know what it was like to be in that household with my sisters and, all that stuff. And it got on my nerves really quick because my sisters, we were, but I love them. And that's what brothers and sisters do. We get into it.
Sure.
So everything really just kind of fell together naturally. So I guess what I was getting at is I got to give a shout out to my mom, Cora Taylor, for being the strong woman that she is and struggling the way she struggled.
Shout out to Miss Cora Taylor.
Yes. And she's still hanging in there. She just retired recently. Now I'm still, she don't know what to do with herself now.
How old is she?
My mom, she.
You're gonna get in trouble now.
I don't know her age exactly. But
60-something?
Sure.
60-something?
I'm pretty sure it was like early 60s.
Say 60-something. Yeah, that's good enough.
I'm kind of hoping she doesn't hear this anyway. So
Did I just
sorry,
get you in trouble? Oh, man, I just got you in trouble, man.
But it's just so many other things going on.
Sure.
It's hard to keep up with.
Sure. I forget I forget my mother's age all the time. She's 73, but sometimes I got to stop and think 70, 72. Yeah, but 73. So it's not easy to keep up with that. How old are you?
I'm 40.
You're 40. Wow, yeah. I remember 40. Way back when.
Yeah, right.
No, so throughout your childhood, throughout your upbringing, and then of course in the period when you were incarcerated, there's going to be things that happen that kind of tear on a brother's self-confidence. So could it be just the accumulation of all of that adversity, all of that adversity that did something to your level of self-confidence and made it into something that you actually had to work with to get the confidence to believe in yourself and believe that you could write a book first and then believe that you could start writing a screenplay second of all?
I think it was kind of a mixture.
Yeah.
Because I also had to remember who and where I came from.
Yes.
My DNA, like my family isn't known to be quitters.
Okay.
So I had to keep that in mind first and foremost.
Yeah. Family honor.
Right. So my upbringing kind of sealed the whole I can't quit. It's not in me to quit.
Right.
I have to keep going. So yeah, there's a combination of all this stuff, and I read somewhere that people, well, I was saying earlier, people everyone has a gift.
Yeah.
It's our jobs, it's our duty to figure out what that gift is.
Yes.
And once we do, we nurture it.
Yes.
And it is so simple. They said it's very simple how you'll come to understand what your gift is. It's when people praise you for what you do.
Well, there you go. It kind of goes back to what you're saying about learning how to read the signs that are laid out before you. If you read those signs, it is going to lead you toward your natural, what you are naturally supposed to do to achieve things through life. In other words, your talent. It's going to lead you to your talent. Yeah. And part of that is getting feedback from people. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that simple. And it's most usually something that you enjoy doing. You just never thought you would actually be able to make a living doing it.
Right. First, you're in it for the fun of it. You're in it for the self-fulfillment, right?
Right.
And I call it just an extra blessing if I'm able to do what I love to do, but it also brings me an income. That's just an extra blessing. But of course, we need that extra blessing. We got to have money to make it through life.
Right. Man. So it's I gotta admit it's a very draining process.
Well, I think that all art, and I'll call writing an art, just like music is an art, just like, painting, drawing, sculpting, that's an art, but I consider writing an art. And I think that people who engage in the arts, it demands a higher level of, it demands a certain amount of concentration. It demands a certain amount of creativity, of course. And it demands all of these higher plane brain things that put a physical toll on your body. It is tiring. Right. It's physically tiring to do those things.
Right. But you know that you have to stick with it or give up.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's where the strength starts to, you start to get stronger.
Yeah.
And you start to accept. Here's where the balance thing comes in again. You start to accept the fact that you're going to struggle regardless. It's just part of the process. You're not just going to get from here to your destination free of charge.
Right. It takes its toll. Absolutely.
Right. There has to be a balance because you've been through what you've been through. So you know what it's like to be at the bottom. For you to thoroughly appreciate what I have stored for you here at this destination, you have to know before you get here that you're going to have to appreciate what I have waiting for you.
Exactly.
No.
So let me go back now to the, you're writing this screenplay. You're writing something that you want to turn into a movie. Now, how far? When was it when you started that? You started it, and you said you felt almost right away that this was your true calling. And when was that? How long ago was that?
2009.
2009. So how far did you get on that original screenplay?
I wrote a story on notebook paper. I met a guy who, me and my girlfriend split up. I moved in with a friend that helped me get a job where they were working, restaurant called McAdoo's downtown Roanoke. And the guy, his name's Mitch. I told him what I was trying to do, and he was one of those guys that you knew instantly believed in what you were trying to do.
Yeah.
And he believed so much that he let me borrow his laptop so I can start typing my stuff up.
Okay.
So I did that, and I started trying to do it in Word format and all that stuff,
Yeah.
Took some time, but finally, so what I did, my first screenplay is based on my book.
Okay, yeah.
So that's, I'm instantly realizing, how you watch a movie and you read the book, and then you watch the movie, and you're like, man, this is nothing like the book.
Right,
There's not enough. But I understand why, though. Because the book is bigger, so the screenplay, you can't have a 400-something page screenplay.
Gotcha. Like you said, one page equals roughly 1 minute of screen time.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And you'd be surprised. You can take one page, and it might take you 8 hours to get through one page, 1 minute.
Wow. Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking of some of the Stephen King books. Stephen King is my absolute favorite author, and I have yet to see a movie that does his books justice, because I guess you're right. Yeah, you're almost forced to come a little bit away from that original storyline when you're going to turn a book into a film.
Right, because you don't need to describe every detail.
Exactly.
Of the furniture.
People will see it in the film. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless a particular piece of furniture is important to the story.
Right.
You don't have to describe what they're wearing all the time.
Right. People will see it. Yeah.
You don't have to. And people miss that whole. People like when people are reading books. They like the idea of being inside someone else's head and what they're thinking and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
You're not writing all the thoughts and all that stuff when you're writing a movie.
Right.
So screenplay is basically.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
The screenplay is, for the most part, basically a blueprint for the director.
I see. Yeah, I guess I haven't been thinking about that. You have the screenwriter, but then you have a director who has to interpret that, and there may be an interpretation that kind of comes away from what the original writer had in mind.
Yeah. So I learned really quick that they are very particular how you write your screenplay as far as the format. And when I was writing this screenplay, it looked perfect, lined up perfect, everything. I thought it did. But once I started like sending it to a few people, they're like, "Man, the formatting is off." And I'm like, "Why do people keep telling me that? It looks perfect."
Yeah.
You know,
What was it they were looking
off,
for? What was it they were looking for as far as the format?
well, your dialogue, you have your character name and then what they're saying under that.
Right.
That the character name has to be over a certain amount of inches. What they're saying has to be over a certain amount of inches.
How are you supposed to? How do you find that out? I mean, that's not something you can just Google, can you? Or can you? Maybe you can. How do you find out exactly what?
I didn't know at the time I could.
But you can't actually do that. If I were to Google what format should I, or what does a proper screenplay format look like? Enter and then boom, and then it'll come up. Is that basically doable like that to figure out how to do it? I'm thinking about an average Joe or average John who's sitting at home and may want to write a screenplay. How do they do it and do it right? Because I would imagine having the wrong format might close a few doors before you even really get through that door. As soon as they see that format's off, maybe they're thinking, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's unprofessional. And then they're not going to work with you.
Right.
Yeah.
I had to, that comes down to the whole accepting what comes with the territory.
Yeah. Yeah.
I read that Stephen King was turned down 30-something times before that one person decided to give him a chance.
Yeah. Yeah. Stephen King. Yeah. Yeah.
Reading stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just a whole, I was just preparing myself. It was almost like I was preparing myself for battle almost. Because it's going to be a fight to get to where I'm going.
Let's talk about that fight for a second. So you write this screenplay for Gray Tiger, and now you have to shop it around. Mm-hmm. Now you need to present this to people who can actually make something happen from it. Talk to me about that. Was that a struggle, and were you successful with shopping it around? Did you get anywhere with it? Talk about the struggle of it first.
Yes, it was definitely a struggle.
Yeah.
It's after, 3, 4, 5 times going back thinking that I got the formatting correct, I realized that I needed actual software, screenwriting software.
Okay. So it's not, you need more than Microsoft Word, in other words. They have specific programs for screenwriting format?
Right.
Okay.
It makes it a whole lot easier for you.
I see.
And what it does is it automatically formats the screenplay for you.
Okay. That's good.
So you don't have to worry about doing all the extra tapping and this and that. You just keep flowing with the story.
Because Microsoft Word, I mean, if you're just using it to write, a letter to your child's school or something like that, Microsoft Word is easy. But when you have to start trying to click in indentations and paragraphs and do this, that, and the other with Microsoft Word, man, it's it's not all that easy anymore. So that's good for people to know then that you can actually get software. I didn't know that you could actually buy software to get a screenwriting format. You could probably buy software to write a book for regular, if you're going to put a book up on Kindle on Amazon or something like that, there's probably software for that as well, I would think, right?
Most likely.
Probably, yeah.
Preferably to write a book, you will probably most likely want to use Microsoft Word.
Okay, yeah.
That has all the functions that you need.
Okay, yeah. So you're out there, and well, let me back up a second. How do you shop a screenplay? Who do you send it to, and how do you figure out who to send it to?
Man, they say it's almost impossible to get into the industry without an agent or a manager.
Yeah.
I had to keep that in mind too. So what I did, I found free, because you got to pay for that software, of course. So I found some free software that allowed me to do enough that I needed to,
Yeah.
So once I finally got this formatting correct, I decided I wanted to try to bypass the agents and managers, because a lot of times
Smart move, I think. Yeah.
Because a lot of times they won't take on a new client, a new writer, unless you have some sort of credibility.
Right.
Well, hold on.
How do you get that credibility if nobody will take you on if you don't have credibility?
Exactly. Well, apparently they're telling me that if I want to get something done, I need to get it done myself. So with that being said, I found out that Virginia has a screenplay competition that goes on every year. So for free. So, and just so happens, actually, Vince Gilligan, the guy that created Breaking Bad.
That's it. Vince Gilligan. Yeah.
He won that. He won a screenwriting competition there one year, and well, the rest is history with him.
Yeah.
You know. So I sent it to this competition. Didn't do so well the first time. They told me, they send, when you don't win, they send you an email and tell you, unfortunately, such.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they tell you, perhaps working on your craft and submit it next year. Good luck.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I did. I submitted that year.
Now, how many screenplays were you competing against? Do you know how many were submitted altogether?
I think hundreds.
Okay.
Just a few hundred.
Okay. Yeah.
Just people from the Virginia, area. So the second time I sent it, I got a letter this time saying,
same screenplay now that you submitted.
Same screenplay,
okay. Yeah.
But I've worked on it within that time, and then the following year sent it back.
Right.
So in this time, I was reading screenplays online, maybe read a little bit of Life, of how they did with the comedy. I read a little bit of a Fast and Furious screenplay, see how they did some action scenes, and like that.
Yeah.
And so I sent, so I re-entered the screenplay, and then I got this letter back from a judge, and it said there was a letter in there, and then there was a manila envelope with a copy of my script inside. And the judge, now, I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to get him into any trouble, because apparently he wasn't supposed to do this.
Oh, okay.
Which was just another sign for me.
Another sign.
So what he did was he sent me a letter telling me what he thought of the story. He thought it was a great idea, original. And if I took a little more time to make some corrections, he sees something. So I forgot the word he used. But he sees a positive outcome.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Interesting.
So,
well, that's got to be a good lift.
It was.
Yeah.
The fact that someone gave me so much detail, and he actually explained everything that he liked about the story, and
Interesting.
And
yeah.
And so, and then there was a manila envelope with the script in there, and then on the script were the places that he wanted me to correct.
Right.
I made all them corrections, but I've yet to send that screenplay back out to the competition yet.
What's keeping you from doing it?
Because a lot of other things involving film actually started to happen for me, which caused me to kind of just say, I'll get back to this. I feel like it's ready, but I'm going to get back to that.
So later. You had some bigger and better opportunities that fell across your path.
I wouldn't say bigger and better. Unfortunately, I ended up getting locked up again. I was violated because I was on probation during this whole time now.
Now, what year is this now when you got violated?
I was violated in 2012.
2012.
Yes, 2012. So, and during this time, now keep in mind, I had my girlfriend at the time, Erica Cooper. Good girl. I gotta give it to her. She's, something else. A handful, but for the most part, what woman isn't. Sorry, ladies. Anyway, I was in jail, and she had actually sent the script out for me.
Oh.
And when I got my response, she mailed it in to me.
Well, it sounds like you had a real queen right there.
We'll get to she's really
we'll get to that.
Good.
We'll get to that. Okay. Oops.
Anyway.
Oh.
I wish I was editing for this show. Anyway.
We'll talk afterwards. We'll talk afterwards.
Part of being real, right?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, she did this for me. And by the time I got out, I went to prison. So I read this letter and I read
his feedback and yeah,
all this stuff. I got sent off to prison where I met Josh. Josh is I'm one of them people, man. I'm already in this horrible atmosphere that I'm in. I'm one of them people I tend to navigate if I'm going to deal with anybody at all.
Yeah.
I tend to navigate towards the people that I feel like I can at least learn something from.
Sure. Yeah. So
Joshua Jones is his name. This dude is like, he reminds me of Kane. He's like maybe 6'7", 6'8" type of deal.
Yeah.
And he's like a walking encyclopedia. So I gravitated towards him because, I feel like I can learn something from this guy. And apparently he felt some sort of connection with me as well. So we clicked instantly. And this guy has so much knowledge about movies, more than I did. And I was into, hold on, you have no interest,
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was like surprised with all this knowledge this dude had. But anyway, he was the one that pretty much convinced me to write a short story, a short film.
Okay.
I'm like, man, there's no money in that, really.
A short film or a short story as in book?
A short. I think he may have mentioned short story, but he may have said short film. I can't remember exactly.
Okay.
But whatever the case, because I had already set my mind on being a film writer, if I wrote a short story, it was going to become a screenplay anyway.
Right.
Which is exactly what happened.
Okay. Yeah.
I actually still have the paper of my short film that got produced.
Okay, so that short film did get produced.
Right.
Man, you got to tell me that story.
So what happened was when he told me this, actually, it took me a couple of days to actually listen to him. So I decided to give it a try. I wrote a story called A Reckoning.
A Reckoning.
Right. It's about the theme of the movie is about bullying, really.
I'm sorry, it's about what? It's about what?
Bullying.
Bullying, okay.
Right. I just kind of put a supernatural twist onto it.
Aha.
Where the bullies kind of, I don't know if getting what they deserve would be considered cruel or not. Okay. But you get the gist.
Yeah. Now, when you say short film, what's the length of this film?
From my understanding, when you enter a short script screenplay into a contest or a festival, whatever the case, they don't want it to be no more than 15 minutes.
Okay.
Which means for the actual script, it's 15 pages.
Right.
So, but it can be 5 minutes. It can be 5 pages.
Okay. Yeah.
So I guess 15 minutes, they feel like it's enough time for them to determine whether you have what it takes or not.
I see. Yeah, I see.
That being said, I decided to take Josh's advice. And keep in mind, Josh knows is an awesome artist, man. Speaking of which, I'm talking to him right now, trying to see if he's committed to being my artist for.
Okay.
I think I want to turn the Great Tiger series into animation as well.
Wow. So the Great Tiger is a series. Then you've had volume.
It's going to be.
You had let me see if I wrote that down right. You called it Great Tiger Volume 1. Yeah. Okay. Right. So how many volumes do you think there will be in the end?
I don't want it to be no more than 3.
Okay.
I've already wrote up the draft for the second installment.
Wow.
It's still on noble paper though. Just something, but I will get back to it.
You will get back to it. You have a storyline in your mind, and you will get that out, right?
Right.
Okay. But then A Reckoning is its own little thing. It's its own short film, or is that going to be expanded?
It depends on, some producer, someone may see it and decide they may want to kind of expand on it. You never know. But
A Reckoning is published now, right? Can people find that somewhere?
It's out. Well, you can find the trailer, teaser/trailer on YouTube. Shows A Reckoning. The film was made by Arch Films, directed by Carlos Hagney.
How do you spell that?
Hagene.
Hagene, Carlos. Director. Yeah, I'm just writing all this stuff down. I want to make sure people get this information. When I post this episode, I'll probably be talking to you when we're finished here doing this recording, and I'll get some information. I want to make sure people can see your work and see what you've done.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate it.
I'll get links and everything, man. I'm going to spread the word about you. This is exciting. I mean, I feel like I'm sitting in a movie. I feel like I'm reading a book. You're just going down and telling your story on down the line, man. I love it. Yeah. So A Reckoning was. I'm just flabbergasted. You have. I'm almost at a loss for words, and that's not good when you're a podcast host. You can't be at a loss for words. You were incarcerated a certain number of years. You get out. There was a parole violation. You go back in. But in spite of all of that adversity, you still stay focused on the task at hand. You are still focused on being a writer. And you're going to produce. You're going to get your work in. Did you ever lose hope? For example, when you got violated and you're incarcerated again, did you lose hope? Or did you know that in spite of that, you were still going to get your work done?
I think at that point, I had already had set in my mind that I figured out what I'm supposed to be doing with my life.
Okay.
What I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
And apparently when you're making steps towards your purpose, you realize that no matter what happens, you're going to make it to your destination one way or another, because it's meant for you.
Yes.
As long as you're making the effort to get there. With that being said, I looked at me getting incarcerated again as another opportunity to strengthen myself in general.
What a beautiful concept. Hold on. I want you to say that again, or can I just repeat what I just heard? You get incarcerated again, and you look at it as an opportunity to strengthen yourself and find even more resolve to achieve what you want to achieve. That's a beautiful statement. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything like that. That speaks
awesome.
Well, that speaks to your focus, and that speaks to you recognize what your calling is. Your calling was not to be incarcerated. That's just part of your journey. Your calling was to be a writer and a published screenplay writer, a published author. And that's just beautiful.
Exactly.
That's just beautiful, because a lot of people look at that whole thing, that big block of adversity, which is incarceration, and they pretty much look at that as the end of their productive life. But you didn't. That's beautiful. I'm sorry, man. That's beautiful. That is.
Thank you, man. That's I really do appreciate that.
That comes from the heart. That's real talk right there, man. That is a beautiful, beautiful way of looking at that situation.
And of course, I'm not thinking about that at the time.
No, but feel it now, because that is beautiful. That has to be such an incredible obstacle, and yet you didn't lose hope. You didn't lose focus. You were going to get done what you were going to get done. That's beautiful. So you have Gray Tiger Volume 1. That had been written, that had been published. Then you come out with A Reckoning, which was a screenplay for a short film that got published. What year did that get published?
A Reckoning was premiered 2017 in St. Louis.
2017.
They actually premiered it on in a theater, actually.
Okay. So then you have one published book, you have one screenplay for that, in relation to that book. You've gotten feedback from one of the fat cats that know what they're doing, and then you actually get the short film published, produced of A Reckoning. What else did you have going on at the time? What else have you produced since then, or what have you been working on since 2017?
Well, during that time, while A Reckoning was in development or pre-production, and I actually sold the script. I sold the rights to the script.
The rights to
A Reckoning.
To A Reckoning, okay.
Right. I kept, as long as I got my credits as the writer.
Yeah.
Once you sell a screenplay to the director, producer, whoever, it's considered, regardless, when a director's on set, it's considered that director's movie.
Yes.
It's not considered the writers or anything, but
right.
As long as the writer gets their credit.
Sure.
Sure. So with that being said, so while that was going on, I ended up, some guy reached out to me. I guess once I started posting and networking with people, I learned that networking was very important.
Yes.
So I started networking with people, and out of the blue, this, I'm not going to mention his name, this guy, the director / producer, humanitarian, he's got like 6-10 different titles. But he contacted me in my inbox, man, and he asked me if I would be willing to call him at a certain time. I said, sure, what's this about? He said, writing. I said, cool. So we ended up talking, and he asked me if I could write a screenplay for him.
Now, how long ago was this?
This was in 2017.
Okay, right around The Reckoning, right around then.
Right.
Yeah. So he asked you to write a screenplay for him.
Right. And as a ghostwriter, pretty much.
I see.
So he brings me out there, pays for room and board and everything. They take me out. And
where did you travel to go see him?
Louisville.
Okay.
It was cool. And keep in mind, when you got to the point to where you have decided to lock on to what you're going to do or what you're going to accomplish, you start visualizing what you're going to be doing when you get to that point.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I used to visualize a director or producer wanting to pay my way to come out there to write or something like that.
Yeah.
And so it didn't really hit me until I got there and I'm alone. Once they set me up in the room and everything, and I set my laptop up and I sit down, I'm like, man, this is what I've been thinking about.
This is it, yeah.
Right. So don't freeze up now because you know what you got to do to get to work.
There you go. Let me ask you, how did this man find out about you?
I don't know.
Wow.
I honestly don't know. I never bothered to ask him.
Yeah. So what happened then? You're up there in Louisville.
And so I get to writing. He would call me over the phone and tell me ideas that he had for scenes, and I would basically go in and it was basically he would give me the foundation of the story, and I would fill in everything else.
Okay, yeah.
And it shocked me actually because the average time, so to speak, is around 90 days to complete a feature screenplay. 3 months.
Okay.
I finished a feature screenplay in less than a week.
Good Lord. Huh.
And
that's with no rewrite then, I would guess.
Yeah, we didn't do any rewrites.
Wow. That's amazing.
Now, this script, however, was for this particular director's friend who was a producer.
Okay.
In Cuba.
In Cuba.
So the script I was writing was about some Cubans and their escape from the country to America.
Right.
So it was about the journey. So majority of the story takes place on a raft out there in the ocean.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh man, I'm very limited here because I gotta make some serious, interesting dialogue go on.
Yeah.
Some serious, interesting flashbacks because I don't really have too much to work with here to, make this hold someone's attention for a whole hour and 30 minutes, whatever the case.
Right.
Apparently, I managed to get it done. Now, that screenplay, I'm kind of fighting with myself right now, to be honest with you, because it's a bittersweet situation I'm dealing with right now in regards to that screenplay.
Yeah, how's that?
Because I was never paid for it. I got the spoils and stuff while I was there.
Right.
I got a little bit of money to put in my pocket, but my percentage for writing the script comes out of the actual budget of the film.
Okay. Gotcha.
So from what I was told, like time went on, I went back home. For this guy, I was to start on another movie script immediately, pretty much.
Uh-huh.
And it had to be award-winning quality. It had to be a powerful film.
Right. Yeah.
And this is a lot of pressure, especially considering I haven't received my money yet from the first one.
Yeah. How do you deal with that? How do you approach that situation?
I didn't know how to deal with it accordingly because it was my first time experiencing what I've heard about so often that goes on in the industry.
Right.
But because I had so much respect for this guy and he treated me like family, he brought me to his house and introduced me to his kids.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I wouldn't think of this guy as that type of person. I mean,
right.
So, I'm still fighting with myself with that right now. And it just so happens, Canon Films had called me around this time, where I had just expressed to him, the guy I was working for on the side, that I'm not really feeling too enthused right now to make this screenplay on writing as good as you want it to be.
Yeah.
When I'm kind of, needing some funds here.
Right.
And so I said, look, if you can't find those everything was put on his partner, So I'm like, and there was nothing he could do. So I'm like, okay,
right.
You may have to just write it. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So pretty much, Canon Films had called. I sent something to the CEO of Canon, and he had called around that time and asked me if I would like to. He liked what I had sent.
This is still back in 2017, right?
Right.
Okay. Yep.
So I get signed. I'm trying not to drag this story on so long.
No, man. This is great. This is absolutely great.
Okay, so Canon contacts me. Gabriel is the CEO of Canon. Canon used to be a huge company back in the days, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Okay.
They were known for movies like Bloodsport and Kickboxer.
Oh, yeah.
Death Wish and some Sylvester Stallone films, and so I grew up on a lot of that stuff.
Sure, Bloodsport, man, that was yeah.
Right.
I think I saw that movie, like I could sit and watch that movie like 2 and 3, 4 times a day back then.
Right,
yeah.
right.
I loved it. Yeah.
So he asked me if I would be interested in writing a ninja film for him.
Full circle back to the ninja stuff from the childhood. How about that?
And just so happens that it was a remake of my favorite ninja film that I didn't know this company made.
What film was that?
It's called Ninja 3: The Domination.
Okay.
Needless to say, due to certain circumstances, the film never came to fruition. So, but it was still exciting nonetheless to know that this was brought to me, and that was just another confirmation that this is what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah, because you didn't go to Canon Films; they came to you.
Well, actually, there was someone that had posted something on Facebook. I don't think she was supposed to have done it.
Okay.
She said that Canon Films had just was just re-emerging, basically.
Okay.
Gabriel inherited the company from his uncle. So, and she said that, and I came across the post, and I instantly inboxed her. It was like, what type of talent are they looking for? So on and so forth. I said, I'm a writer, and she said, well, here's his email.
Okay. Okay.
And that's how I learned about that.
So how does what happens when you write a script? A film company asks you to write a script, you write a script, but then nothing happens with the movie. The movie never gets produced. Do you as a writer get any kind of compensation at all for that script?
Well, actually, it's funny that you mentioned that. I had just spoke to be clear, I'm no longer signed with Canon Films.
No.
But I don't want to. I still wish them much success, and I hope that Gabriel, gets things where he wants it to be.
Yeah.
And with that being said, that script that I wrote, I called him one day and asked him, being that I wrote the script and we both feel that it's a good script, how about if I, give me the authority to, if I just so happen to come across someone that will want to pick it up, then, if there's some way we can work out some sort of, and they were pretty good about that. So. Okay.
That's good. Yeah, it's just a thought that dropped in my head. What happens then with that script if nothing happens with the movie and you've put the work in and you've written the script, maybe by request of that film company, if there is any way that you still get compensated even though there is no movie. What the heck was that?
Something. No, I'm in my studio, and I think somebody drove by real fast on a motorcycle. Almost scared the living daylights out of me. You hear that loud roar from a motorcycle all of a sudden. Okay.
Man, if you could have seen your face just now.
Did I look like a coward? Because that's how I felt.
No.
I just about jumped out of my skin.
That was more. You feel that you were alarmed, that's for sure.
Oh man. Okay. So Canon Films, you had submitted a script. Nothing happened with that. What happened next?
So of course there's a lot of things I'm forced to kind of leave out because it's such a long story and so much goes on.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
But while I was with Canon, I had to learn some things as I went along. It was just
I would imagine so, because again, you're not a guy you haven't been to film school, you haven't been to any kind of school to learn how to write. You're just a guy with but you are a guy with a dream, with a vision, and you're making things happen. So I would assume there's a lot of learning as you go. It's kind of like me with this podcast. I don't have any background in or education in journalism or broadcasting, so a lot of this stuff I have to learn as I learn it. Learn it as I go. I'm sure it's the same. It's been the same for you with with screenwriting and just being a writer in general.
Pretty much, man. Because everything I had to teach myself anyway. There's some things I think I was kind of prepped for in my earlier years. For example, I tried out the I was 18, tried out the whole salesman thing where you travel around the country, selling magazines and stuff. Needless to say, that didn't last too long. It lasted about 3 months because I just wasn't I never made my quota. It's supposed to sell 8 magazines a day to actually make any type of money. My high was about 3 or 4.
Okay.
However, I did learn a lot from that experience. Because you have to go out there. They put you out there on these, on T is what they call it, in these neighborhoods.
Yeah.
T stands for territory.
Territory, yeah.
They just drop you off and good luck. If you want to eat, you better still have some money from yesterday. If you don't, you better get.
It's kind of like do or die.
Yeah, you better get one of these customers to offer you food or drink if you get hungry, if you have no money, type of thing. And you're out there from morning until like 11 o'clock at night. So,
I'm just trying to picture that. I don't think I would have had the patience to do that. So hats off to anybody who has done that.
Yeah, it was something, that's for sure. He said he was right when he told me one thing. Well,
can I ask you to hold on for just 1 second? Hold on for one second.
Problem.
What's up, Snoop? I think I need it. Can you hook me up? All them biscuits and I ain't got no gravy. See, I say things like that to my wife. She is as Norwegian as they come. So I say things like that, and after 20 years of being married, she's kind of starting to understand those things to where she'll blush now. Before she would just look at me and throw her hands up, but now she'll blush a little bit because she knows what I'm getting at. So I've been teasing her for 20 years. So I'm finally
awesome.
I'm finally getting the benefits of that.
Awesome, man.
I'm sorry, I had to.
No, good, man.
To talk to her for a second there. No, so yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Just pick up where you were.
I'm trying to remember exactly where I was.
I'm a terrible podcast host. I quit.
Hey, man. Well, I know what you're going. Okay, so we're on Canon. So through that and learning as I go along, So which put me, so instead of being a contractor to write this one movie, he decided to sign me on as an official employee.
A staff writer, kind of?
Pretty much, but instead I decided to take some initiative and do a little more than just writing.
Okay.
Hence where the thing with the selling the magazines and all that stuff came in, because it taught me how to greet people and how to talk to people.
Right.
Which prepped me for being able to network with people.
Right.
Because before I wasn't too much of a social type person. I wasn't really,
Yeah. And being in this business, you have to be able to pitch something. You have to be able to market it and sell it,
Right. And you have to be able to communicate with people that's in the same field that you're in or trying to get in. It's that whole, it reminds me of that whole, you ever heard, if you want to be something, you have to be around people that's doing that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's a form of mentoring. You have to have a mentor. You have to have someone who kind of shows you the way to where you want to be. Someone that you can feed off of in a way.
Right. So with that being said, I started using Facebook to network with people and finding these film groups and joined Stage 32 and
what's that? Stage 32.
It's a networking site for creative individuals, whether it's film, music, writing, directing, whatever the case.
Okay. Is that like a social media group on Facebook or something? Or
it's almost social media. I mean, Stage 32, they've become very successful with what they're doing. And, you can find them on Facebook and places like that, but I don't know if I can call it a social. I mean, it's definitely a social networking site.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I was thinking. I'm thinking like, no, it's not Facebook. It's but yeah, it's definitely social network.
but it's a gathering for people who are interested in that form of art.
Right. Yeah. People at all levels. You got people that's aspiring to do something. You got people that's maybe in my situation, maybe emerging.
Right.
You have established people that's on there.
Yeah.
So it's all about networking, trying to get your network together. So hopefully there's someone that can help you to achieve or to get further to your goal.
Right.
And in turn, maybe you can help the next person that you've been networking with.
Yeah.
And you just kind of, that's why I can't stress networking with people enough. You have to, if you're a rapper, a singer, whatever, you have to associate yourself with people that's doing that type of stuff.
Yes.
Because they're the ones that's most likely going to have some sort of answer for you. Somebody that can point you in the right direction. If this person can't, then they know this person who know that person that might help. Well,
there's a lot of value. There's a lot of value in networking. There's a lot of value in putting yourself out there, and it opens doors. Simply put, it opens doors.
And then you gotta know how to approach people also, because you gotta keep in mind these people are being approached by countless people on a daily basis.
So you have to find a way to stand out, that you're not just another face, one of those hundreds of faces that they meet every day. You've got to do something to stand out. So how did this thing that you did, selling magazines and whatnot, how were you able to apply those skills to further your current career?
Learning how to talk to people and learning how to initially greet people, when especially people are, sometimes people are skeptical of you when they first meet you. And, in my case, I have to learn, because we are, the color of our skin, we have to learn to we don't have to learn it. If you want someone to initially feel comfortable when they first meet you, I'll just simply smile at them.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah.
That instantly kind of breaks the little...
Right. That preconceived notion of what you are supposed to be. And yeah.
Right. So they're more apt to talk to you. And then once they talk to you a little bit, they see how you talk to them. So you're not just some little thug that's out here to do something bad to me.
Right.
So I had to learn how to talk. And so that prepped me.
Right.
So, dealing with all these different the people's doors I'm knocking on and so many different personalities. And often, man, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Sometimes people would invite me in and I would sit there and watch movies with them.
Really?
Yeah, they offer me drinks and offer me, because I knew that people would tell me, hey, man, you're not going to have any luck around here. Ain't nobody going to, because they would drop us off in black neighborhoods and most of the neighborhoods were like ghetto.
Right. Okay. I got you. Yeah.
So, yeah. Sometimes, the day would go on and I get to talking to someone and then they'll genuinely, I guess, like me or whatever the case may be. So they'll invite me to come, so yeah, man. So anyway, so that helped me with being able to talk to people and being able to approach people the right way.
Right.
So so that helped me. Basically, I kind of stumbled into the whole producing category.
Now, do you enjoy the producing aspect of all of this more than you do the actual writing aspect?
I can't say if I enjoy it more, but I do enjoy the fact that I am able to do something that I've always, even though I'm a writer, I still would like to have more involvement in the film industry.
I see.
So being a producer, it is kind of cool to be able to, make some other things happen behind the scenes.
Right. Like financing, maybe some influence on what kind of, if it gets to the point of production, you might have some influence on who the actors or the director is going to be, things like that.
Right. I may be able to help.
A little bit more control.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of working for someone else. It's like the older I get, the more it's starting to bother me.
I feel you. There's nothing worse than having a boss. I shouldn't say that because there's some genuinely good and talented leaders out there in the work world. But I would much rather. I prefer working for myself. To speak for me, I prefer working for myself. So I feel you on that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So being a producer kind of gives me that freedom to, even though a lot of it, which I'm kind of cool with it, but it gets a little frustrating, of course. But I'm on my phone a whole lot.
Yeah.
So I'm having to network with these people and having to do this and that because I'm not out there in LA at the moment.
A lot of telephone, a lot of Skype meetings, I would imagine, things like that.
Yeah.
Or Zoom or whatever.
Right. But I'm continued to be reassured that I am definitely in the right place and I'm on the right path. Because considering the fact, I guess you can officially say that I've been a part of the film industry once my script was acquired from me.
Right.
2015. So officially, I've only been in the film industry for 5 years.
Yeah.
And of course, it's definitely a slow process.
Where do you see yourself in another 5 years?
A successful screenwriter / producer / author.
Now, what's it mean to be a successful screenwriter to you?
Well, I know everyone has their own idea of success.
Right, exactly.
Mine is just simply, I don't need to have multi-million-dollar bank accounts or anything. I just need to be comfortable. I need for my 3 grown daughters and my grandkids to be comfortable. So I just need enough to know that when I'm gone, that my kids and my grandkids are going to be able to, they're going to have something to be proud of me about. They're going to be able to share stories with their friends or whatever the case. Well, my dad or my granddad accomplished this. You know, he went through it, but look what he was able to do.
Yeah.
So that's what it's all about for me, man. And me personally, as long as I can have me a little theater in my house.
Yeah.
You know, a little small, little modest little thing, fit 6 people maybe in there.
Right. Yeah.
And where I could sit in my writing room and look out and see a body of water. I don't care if it's the ocean or a lake. I just need to see a body of water. That, because it's relaxing.
That has become so important to me. Now, I grew up in rural Ohio, and there was no large bodies of water. I guess we could drive up to Lake Erie if we wanted to, but that was a bit of a drive. It was a ways away. And when I came here to Norway, and we have 2 homes. The one home we have is in a city that's right by the ocean. And then the other home that we have, which is like our summer home way up north, our property is it's on an island actually. So it's right there on the ocean. And for the rest of my days, I will never be far away from the ocean. I have to have that. It's the smells, it's the sound, it's the special kind of wildlife that comes with it. Man, I cannot do without the ocean ever again. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. That setting that you just described to me, that's ideal right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I consider myself fortunate. I consider myself very, very blessed to be living the way I do. But for those who are listening, the key to that is marry up. Make sure your woman is better than you. If you do that, you're going to be all right. Marry up, do not marry down.
Something for me to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, there you go.
So
now what do you have in the mix right now? You had these things happening in 2017. Now we go to 2018, 2019, and now it's 2020. What's in the mix for you now? Do you have anything right around the corner that's about to come out? Are you working on anything currently, writing wise, whether it's a book or a script?
Well, there's a few projects in work right now. One of them, I was fortunate enough to get brought on as an associate producer on an upcoming comedy film called Blazed and Amused.
Blazed and Amused?
Yes. Written and directed by Mark Hawkins, a.k.a. DJ Clientele.
Aha. Now that guy knows people. As Richard Pryor's character Mudbone used to say, I know peoples. That guy knows that guy knows a few people, does he not?
Yeah, he's got a pretty impressive background from growing up with Ice Cube and Dr. Dre and all them guys to having a museum built out there in LA. Where actually he was awarded a plaque for the museum. I think the museum is the first museum to pay tribute to old school hip hop artists.
Okay.
People like Curtis Blow and LL Cool J and NWA.
Man, you're making me homesick. So a guy like that, knowing the people that he knows, that right there is a great marketing aspect, right? Just knowing people is going to push that product, this film.
Yeah, man.
It's better to know people than to not know people, in other words. We were talking about networking a while ago. Yeah.
Unfortunately, when things didn't work out with Cannon, he kind of remembered and recognized while I was there that I wasn't slacking. I wouldn't think that I was slacking. I had to put together film proposals.
Right.
Right then and there. And, those things are, I don't know if you've ever seen what a film proposal looks like. But if you get one done in a week, that's pretty good.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So, things like that, and just, try to find people that had just completed films that needed distribution.
Okay.
Because Canon is a distribution company as well. So I was trying to, lock in deals that way.
Right.
Editing people's scripts if need be.
So you had a multifaceted job. It wasn't just one thing. You kind of had a foot in a few different doorways.
Right.
That's exciting. That's what you probably weren't bored. I would imagine I would imagine you felt well stimulated and you had more than enough to do. I would imagine.
Yeah, it started getting to the point right now where I have to live by taking notes so I don't forget anything.
Okay, yeah.
Having to adjust to people's different time zones and everything. Like right now,
we were a little back and forth about the time and all that stuff. So man, I feel you on that with the time zones. Yeah.
Right. So
Blazed and Amused is the name of the film.
Right.
Now, do you have a release date?
No release date at the moment. Unfortunately, I can't disclose with so much information at the moment.
That is so cool. I like asking questions where people answer me. This is the second time today that I asked a guest a question and they said, "I'm sorry, I'm not at liberty to speak on that," or something to that effect. I love it. Now I'm a good podcast host again. I was doubting myself for a while there, but now I'm back.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, because, I would imagine there's some legal aspects, maybe some ownership rights, but when a film isn't released, you can't reveal too much about the storyline and things like that. I would guess it has a little bit to do with that and, financing issues and whatnot. But the film, is it something that we can expect to see within the next calendar year?
I would assume so. If I'm not mistaken, is the plan is to start back filming around spring of next year. If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So
when it comes to budgeting a film, how flexible is a film company on, if they say, okay, nice to meet you, John Allen. You want to make a film on the story of your life. We'll give you a $10 million budget to make that film. Well, what happens if in the process of making that film, I'm assuming it would be the director who would maybe make some choices and then find out that we need another $5 million to make this film. How flexible are these film companies when it comes to things like that?
To be honest with you, I can't give you a definite answer on that.
Does it probably varies from project to project, maybe?
Yes. I haven't dealt with many film financing companies at all, really, until recently.
Okay.
So I really don't. I pitched one idea which was the Ninja film, to a guy who I was introduced to by a good friend named Martin Jeffrey. Actually, he's a public figure around here in Virginia. He actually just ran for mayor, and he's been he's been a big help to me. He's a really good guy. Unfortunately, he didn't win candidacy to be mayor, but he should have, definitely. This guy would give money out of his own pocket to help someone.
Really? That kind of guy, huh?
I'm a witness to it, yes.
Yeah.
So shout out to Martin Jeffrey. But I can't remember if it was he or someone else, but regardless, I was introduced to someone that I was pitching the Ninja film to, and the budget was at the time only like maybe $2 million for the Ninja film.
Yeah.
But this guy was like, the project sounds kind of interesting, but to be honest with you, man, I really don't invest in projects that's no less than $50 million. Okay.
Well, as my mom says, well,
yeah.
Well.
So I'm thinking that no problem. All we have to do is readjust the who gets paid what.
Yeah, it's so simple.
And now we can add some special effects that we thought we were gonna have to take out of the film if need be.
Yeah.
Be able to get certain actors, but it didn't work out well. So that didn't go through. But so it just depends on the type of potential investor you're dealing with.
Okay. Yeah.
To get back to your initial question.
Yeah. Man, it's just it just sounds like a constant whirlwind of activity and planning and adjustment and creativity. Do you ever feel burnt out? I do now, to be honest with you.
Do
you really? Do you?
Yes.
Huh.
I'm mentally exhausted, man.
Wow. Well, that makes me even more thankful that you took the time to do this podcast.
There's no problem at all. And I didn't mind doing. I've turned down 2 interviews in the past, but
really, why?
Well, for one, I didn't think that I was ready for that yet.
Okay.
2, they just didn't. Their podcast and your podcast, yours stands out. Yours have more, to me, more meaning, more. For example, this interview the theme is supposed to be about inspiration.
Yes.
We want to inspire people and motivate them to know that it don't matter how rough your life is, or what type of obstacles you go through, how much you're hurt, whatever the case may be, you can still do what you want to do. You just have to take that first step. You can't be afraid to fail or get rejected because it's part of the process.
I can say amen to that. That is just perfectly stated. Perfectly stated. Absolutely. Man, you're something else, man. You are something else. You really, truly have inspired me. Like I told you earlier, I knew a little bit about your background, a little bit that Joy had told me, and then a little bit you had talked about on the telephone. But throughout this conversation, you've just been dropping, these little bombs. It's like, wow, did he really do that? Oh wow, he used to be incarcerated, and anyway he still did this, and what, he was incarcerated again, but he still is doing this. It's just thank you. Thank you, man.
There's no problem at all, man. If I can help somebody, then it's all worth it.
I think you will help. I know that somebody is going to hear this podcast. They're going to hear your testimony about your path to where you are now, and they will be inspired. They can't help but be inspired. That's going to happen for a lot of people who listen to this. I know it.
Awesome. That's what it's all about, man. And speaking of which, I have a good friend I grew up with named Keith Simon.
Yeah.
I felt it necessary to give him a shout out because Keith, he's to me, I think he's a special case for the simple fact it's not too often where you see someone that goes from the street life and make a complete 180 change in the opposite direction, like full speed ahead. Yeah. And now he's a minister.
He's a minister. Okay.
At Perfecting Unity Church in Roanoke, Virginia.
Wow.
And he's like full.
No, go ahead.
And he's just like, apparently he hit that moment in his life where he instantly knew what it was he was supposed to have been doing. Yeah. And once he headed on that path, it all just opened up for him.
Man, that's beautiful. Quickly. See, those are the kind of life stories I like, man. The people who all of a sudden they just know what's right for them and they do it. No questions, they just do it. And you know, for you to be where you are in this world of art, and it's a challenging, you know, I can only imagine the challenges you have. I mean, not everybody can write a script, and then not everybody who writes a script actually gets something done with it. And I think a lot of people want to write books, but not everybody who wants to write a book does write a book. And then not everybody who does write a book actually gets it published. So for you have just, throughout your life path, it just seems like, man, you're just getting it done, period. Regardless of what's happening, you're just getting it done.
It's, I'll say that I'm not, even though I'm not where I want to be.
But you're on your way.
Right. I feel it coming. It's, you know, you know when you're doing what you are meant to be doing. And that kind of, when you had a realization, it's kind of a comfort to know that, okay, I'm sure I'm going to go through some sort of struggle today or tomorrow or whatever the case is. But you realize that you're going to get over it because you have a mission to accomplish. If it's the Lord's will, for those who choose to believe or whatever, I'm not trying to, you know.
No, that's okay. Hey man, I had a podcast episode with a guy who is a follower of Taoism, which is a form of Buddhism, and we talked for 4 hours. And I don't know I don't know the slightest thing about Buddhism or Taoism. So hey, if anybody wants to give some praise to God and speak on their spirituality, this is the place to do it. I'm open for that.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Also, being that I'm more of a spiritual guy.
Spiritual, yes.
Right. I do believe in
you're in the right place. Well, you're in the right place then.
Thank you. So with that being said, I know when you know that you're in the right place and you know that you are going to get to your destination, you kind of embrace, it's kind of almost like the whole adaptation situation.
Yeah.
You got these obstacles and all these problems coming at you. If you're either going to buckle, run, or you got to toughen up and adapt to what's coming and adjust accordingly.
Adjust accordingly. Absolutely. There's, life demands that we are flexible. And if we resist that, then we resist our ultimate self. I truly believe that. You've got to be flexible. You've got to see the changes when they come, and you have to adapt to it.
Exactly, man.
But hey, Antwon Taylor, man, I have enjoyed this. Again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing this. I hope you were able to get something out of it, because I definitely did. I don't know what else to say, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
It's no problem, man. I appreciate you being interested in my story.
I am.
And, so I guess I'll leave off with all I can do is keep pushing. Like I said, I hope I've motivated or inspired one person, at least somebody. And all I can do is just keep doing what I'm doing and wish for the best.
Well,
Before,
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
In my 2021 is, from my understanding, supposed to be my year.
2021.
And perhaps I'll get back into that. All deals with the whole astrology numbers and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I know that's going to just drag it on out more. So I'll maybe say that for perhaps if we talk again through another interview or something.
Let's put it this way. I definitely want to have you back, and do another episode with you. I have so many more things I want to talk with you about. So many more things I want to ask you. But I do have a wife who needs a little bit of attention, or maybe it's just me missing her. But no, I do. No. I need to step into the family, so I'm gonna have to cut this short. Man, we've been talking for in 10 seconds. It will be 2 hours and 40 minutes. So this was we put some time in today.
Definitely, man. But I appreciate it. I know you gotta get to your wife, man.
But I will be asking you back on. There's more to your story. I know it, and I'd love to hear it. But I've appreciated over the last 2.5 hours or so getting to know you better. And Miss Joy was quite correct when she said I would enjoy talking with you, because I did.
Also, I appreciate that, man. Yeah. Thank you, bro. I hope we talk to you again soon. Well, I'm sure I'll talk to you before.
Absolutely. Hey, we have a brotherhood going now. I call you brother, and I don't say that lightly. So we will be talking again, my brother. Absolutely.
I appreciate that, my brother.
Antwon Taylor, everybody. Bye now. Thank you and goodbye.